Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. I'm Ashley Muckinhaupt, and this is the radio show for the dreamers and doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena. Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers. We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than when we find it. We approach each day with enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain a rational optimism about the future. This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, brought to you by Adam Williams, who is not here today. I'm sure it's killing him.
Absence without leave.
Yeah, he's listening to it, but it is show 13, so we are already 13 episodes in. We're gonna do things a little bit different today because we don't have Adam, but we do have two other great hosts. We have Brian Slawin. Am I saying that right?
Almost.
Okay.
Slawin.
Okay. And Jordan Fuller. Did I say that right? Okay. Yep. So we're going to bring you a great show today discussing startups and angel funds. Before we get to all of that, though, this is where you can find us. We are streaming live on Facebook, Spotify, and Joel, correct me if I'm wrong, our episodes last week streaming on Spotify, right? Okay. Also on YouTube, and don't forget to follow us there. And then, as always, MaverickMindsetRadio.com. We're always updating, including Maverick merch. You can mention the Maverick merch coupon code Maverick10 for 10% off. We have the cups, the notebooks, the stickers.
I gotta get some of that.
I know. You got to start seeing that around. Adam probably bought it all. No.
Revenue guarantees.
I know. Oh, Lordy. All right. So we're going to start off with the quote of the day. We always start this off because it kind of brings us into our show. So today's quote of the day is brought to you by Rust Belt Business Law. Rust Belt Business Law exists to help business owners with the issues that keep them up at night. The quote is, "Successful people are always looking for opportunities to help others." I chose this because of our topic that we're talking about today with the angel investments. So I thought it would be a good one because obviously there's always other successful entrepreneurs out there looking to help other people get started. So let's start off with you guys just telling us a little bit about yourselves. I know you've been on here before, but let's start with who you are, what you do, and tell our listeners.
Awesome. I'm Jordan Fuller, the Director of Entrepreneurship at the Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership. For the past 7 years, we've been running a business accelerator program, which has made investments into 41 startups that have gone on to raise an additional $500 million of follow-on funding and grown their revenues to over $60 million across the portfolio. And what we've launched in the community recently is the ICE Angel Fund, which has started making and reviewing its first set of investments. And we're super excited to be working with a group of private investors from our community to bring this sort of opportunity to reality.
So I'm Brian Slawin. Before I get into my story, the one thing that was probably the most challenging as Jordan and I and others built the ICE Angel Fund is there any deal flow in Erie? And yes, there's a tremendous amount of deal flow. We'll talk about that more as we go.
Yeah, because I know nothing. So when you say deal flow, I'm like, what's that?
Right.
Tell me what that is.
Yeah, basically, are there investable opportunities that would be interested in an angel fund geographically based in Erie, but investing quite literally nationwide? Okay. So we'll talk about all the details about what an angel fund is. But so, as I said, my name is Brian Slawin. I'm a portfolio manager and a director at Ben Franklin Technology Partners. The partnership has been part of the economic development and investment scene for more than 40 years. Ben Franklin was the first venture development organization in the country back in the 80s when Governor Thornburg and a bunch of other smart people stood it up. And so over those years, we've had a $27 billion impact on the economy of the Commonwealth. We've invested in literally tens of thousands of companies, created millions of jobs. And my core role is to work with partners like Jordan at the Fire Accelerator Program and others in the community to, support companies as they're just getting going, all the way to companies that are already going and want to go faster and go bigger.
Okay.
So it really spans the gamut from idea on a napkin to, almost ready for venture investment.
Nice. Well, I thank
Yeah.
you both for being here today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, pleasure.
Adam is traveling, but he is listening in, so I'm sure he'll
Uh-oh.
send us some comments.
They call those network notes. Network notes is when the suits come in and go, you should probably do it this way. Luckily, we won't have that.
All right. Well, there's three main things that I want you guys to discuss. The first is the various ways that startups can raise capital. So let's get into that. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I went back and pulled up some of our presentations from when we were doing a road show, trying to raise some money for the angel fund, because we had this graph that really describes the different stages in which people are raising. And so I'm just going to walk you through a brief overview of the life cycle for financing a startup. So typically at the idea stage, you've got something, you're sitting at the bar, an idea hits you, you've wrote it down on the napkin. You're then moving into like a proof of concept. You're saying, okay, is this really something that has a market value? And at that point, to raise some capital, there's three groups of people you're going to call. You're going to call your friends, you're going to call your family, and a bunch of fools that might throw some dollars at you to help you get this thing off the ground.
And their motivation is primarily, I knew Joe when he was cutting grass as a little kid. Joe's always been an upstanding young man. He's a Boy Scout and he volunteers. I'm going to throw X dollars at Joe because I like Joe. Not a whole lot of market validation or product validation or just I like Joe. That's the friends and family area.
So you don't have to show or prove anything to them. It's just based on
You're
Joe.
raising on your credibility
Right.
at that point. Is the idea flashy enough to get some attention, and am I a good enough talker that I can close it?
Got it.
So then you're moving forward a little bit, and you've hopefully at this point you've got your prototype of either your service or your product, and it's ready to start putting into market. And at that point, you're in that pre-seed and seed stage, and that's really where we're entering that what we call it the valley of death, which is what we say is it's where good companies go to die. So you've made it out of the friends, family, and fools round. You've got some cash, so you're able to do some stuff. But you're also learning a lot of expensive lessons at that point. So money goes quick, and it's hard to raise because you don't have a lot of traction yet.
Yeah.
And so that's where groups like Ben Franklin can come in and other sort of development funds. So Brian, talk a little bit about Ben Franklin and how you fit into that pre-seed and seed stage.
So you're exactly right. That's where we start. We can continue up the continuum of capital, but we start there. And we work with people who just come to us with an idea. We've got a lot of different programs like the Big Idea Contest, which just completed last week, actually, awarded two different companies $25,000 to go take their core idea and then accelerate it. There's programs like the Ben Franklin Tech Accelerator, which really I got an idea and I just want to kick some tires around it. So we spend 10 weeks with these brand new entrepreneurs. Maybe they've got maybe they're a little advanced, but you can literally come with an idea on a napkin.
So that's it. Like they don't have to bring you anything. They're just saying, hey, I have this idea to start this up, but I have no idea what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where Erie Insurance wasn't the first company to do insurance, but the two founders, right, said we can do it a better way. So they just had an idea in the beginning. Of course, 100 years later, now it's a Fortune 500 company. Right. So many entrepreneurs literally just start off with, I've got a better mousetrap. And so we support that early stage, probably 85% of what we do is that super early stage, just an idea, and we're going to help walk you through the various elements that are required to build a business.
And while we're talking about money, it's really important that money's not the most critical thing at this stage. And in fact, it might be the least important because where we're really trying to help you here is lay the foundation, get the education, the content, and the expertise that you need surrounding you so that you can take this to the next level when the money is bigger and it matters. So here we're introducing companies to programs and organizations like the Beehive, like Thrive, like the cohort at Achievers Entrepreneurial Hub, or our friends up at Radius. And what we're doing there is we're trying to build the bus around them, so that then they can start, as they're starting to speed up and take off, they can start filling that themselves. And then that's where we enter into your early stage. And this is where angels will start to come in and play. And organizations and programs like mine, the Fire Accelerator Program. There's accelerator programs, thousands of them across the country. And where they really are, their sweet spot is in that seed to Series A stage. And we're going to talk, that's a little bit of a teaser for what's next, but that we've got some market validation, we're ready to go a lot faster. And that's where we're at now. And so an angel likes to see some traction. They like to see early customers, some other investors that have come in already at this point beyond the friends, family, and fools, because anyone can get a check from a friend, a family, or a fool. But when it matters then is that next check, because that says, okay, there's some validation there. Someone else believes in this beyond my mom and me.
Right.
And that's what's really important.
Well, let's get what is an angel investor? What do they do? How do you find them? Where do they come in? Like, let's go over that whole thing.
So an angel investor is a defined term through the SEC. Well, it's accredited investor. And so an accredited investor is someone that's making at least $250,000 a year, or has $1 million in assets outside of their primary residence. So if you're checking any one of those boxes, you can be an angel investor. And an angel investor is usually the first outside money into a company. And it's mentor. They're getting involved in the business, understanding what's going on and providing their expertise. And they're also patient. They know that this is going to take 5 to 7 years for a payout. So they're waiting, but it's not always and almost really ever about actually making significant money on this. Brian, why are angel investors investing?
There's a multitude of reasons why we invest into these little companies, right? And little, by the way, isn't derogatory.
Right.
They are literally little. Just starting. Little in sales, little in staff, little in market reach. I mean, they're little. Fine. That's where great ideas start, is small. Mm-hmm. An angel investor, we probably have a couple of motivations. For me, I just like to be part of the stir, right? I love these people with this interesting idea, young or old. We get all kinds of people demographically. A lot of different people will show up at the Ice Angel door or Ben Franklin door and say, hey, I just want to do something. So we invest because they're interesting people doing interesting things. Okay. And then they have traction, or they've got some validation, or they're working to secure an SBIR, which is a grant from the federal government, or other kinds of things that allow us, through the mentorship programs that Jordan mentioned and the internal staff we have at Ben Franklin, to go and help them do something. I think you're right. Money can be the most distracting part of this whole process, where what you really should be focusing on is, what does my customer really want? Right. My customer has a problem. Is my solution solving their problem, or is my solution looking for a problem? So if you have a solution that is solving a problem, you fell in love with the problem, and now you're going to build something around it, and there are other people around you, customers. There's a great book. It's totally free. It's called The Mom Test. Mm-hmm. The Mom Test, if you Google it and put, file type PDF, it's completely free. You download it, you read it, you understand how to talk with prospective customers. So anyway, your question was, what's an angel investor? What's their motivation?
Right.
Early ideas, super cool, interesting ideas, the opportunity to actually make a difference, like my little check can maybe make a whole lot of difference for someone that is trying to accelerate. You get to introduce them to your crowd, if you will, who can be helpful in all kinds of different ways. And then at some level, especially community pride level, now we have the ability to say, look, we invested in X, right, and now look what X is doing, right? So there's that piece as well.
Now, how do you choose what angel is getting set up with who? How does that work? They come in, who sets them up? Like, what's that process?
So there's a lot of different forums that an angel, forums that an angel could join. So here in Erie, we have what's called an angel fund, which is committed capital. So an angel has stepped up, a group of angels have stepped up and said, we believe in this vehicle, we believe in the service provider and the leadership of that group, and we believe that this is the best way for us to do it. So it's providing a single stop for a company or an investor to find. In other communities, they have what's called angel networks, which is more informal. It's you might pay some dues to be a part of it. You show up every once in a while and hear a pitch, but you don't have committed capital sitting in a bank account that says, I am committed to this amount of money over this amount of time. There might be informal requirements for being parts of different groups or anything else, but really it's either and then the third is you're a lone wolf and you're just going out there, you're hunting what you kill, you're eating what you kill. It's you're finding deals on your own and you're investing in them and you're doing it.
And that last person, sorry to interrupt, that last person was a huge motivation for why we wanted to put the Ice Angel Fund together, because there are people of means who are accreditable investors who are going out and doing the hunting, eating what they kill kind of an idea. And I'd say 98% of those go to zero. Mm-hmm. And so after you've burned through $150,000, you're kind of like, this stinks. This startup thing is dumb. I'm finished. Well, yeah, because you were it. Yeah. You were the sole source of truth. You believed what you believed. Someone who can sell is going to be able to sway your attention. Yeah. And you made really bad choices. That's the strength of angel funds broadly, and specifically the Ice Angel Fund, which, by the way, you can find at iceangelfund.com. See how we were so fancy to name That's it good. Like that? iceangelfund.com. and you're surrounded by people with lots of different experiences and lots of different knowledge and, other people through their network that understand. So being a member of the Ice Angel Fund is not only getting exposed to really interesting entrepreneurs doing really super cool stuff, it's also sort of a social network, right? People from all over the community are getting together who wouldn't otherwise get together, right? They're not going to just run into each other in the park. So it's a lot of fun. We're one of our key phrases, and I'm going to steal it from our colleague Brett Weiler. We're trying to build a culture of investment in our community. Nice. Now, if you're a manufacturer and you need 1 million widgets by Friday, you can do that math all day. But if you're being approached by a med tech device or some manufacturer doing a thing, or like Blind Tiger, right? Rebecca Stein. You don't have the tools to evaluate that, but collectively we do. And that's how we make investments.
Absolutely. And angel investing is a team sport, or it's better as a team sport.
So would your advice be to not to look into angel investing where you have a group, not that sole lone wolf, as you called it, that's...
It's lonely, and you're going to make a lot more mistakes. You are, if this is what you're doing, you are obviously very intelligent and capable because you've been able to achieve a level of wealth that enables you to make these decisions. So you're obviously very talented, but you might be an excellent doctor or lawyer or engineer. But with an angel fund, you can have all of those sitting around the table talking about the same company and then making a great decision. Yeah. When you're bringing just your own expertise to consider an investment opportunity, that's all you're going to have. And the goal of investing with a group is to expand that network and be able to do that.
And not to sort of explode Adam's head any larger than it already is, but when we get together and discuss deals, these companies,
Yes.
he says some really interesting things.
Yeah.
Like he asks really, really good questions.
Yes.
And other people do. And that's, for me, that's mostly the reason why I got involved in the Ice Angel Fund to begin with, was because I get free consulting from Adam about how to look at a deal.
Yeah.
That's so valuable for what Jordan and I do on our everyday basis. And it's also interesting just to be around to listen to the conversations.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. It's, you can tap into and gain expertise. It's been great for what we do in our daily lives. It's been great, and just the conversation with the other members. Everyone's really enjoying meeting new people that there was no reason for them to
Right.
meet each
They're
other.
not gonna
before.
bump into each other.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So, recap: people that want to start up. So we're in the napkin phase,
Yep.
and they come to find help.
Yeah, and they can reach us through a number of ways. They can call Jordan. They can call me at Ben Franklin or at the Chamber. They can go on our website, iceangelfund.com, and literally put an application in. We're just talking earlier about a company that put an application in yesterday.
Okay.
So we're getting deals. I'd probably come up with a better term. We're getting opportunities to look at super great companies, literally from all over the country.
Okay.
And then evaluate, is this company likely to succeed enough for it to be interesting for our members, our collective members, to make some level of investment?
Okay.
And so if you're an entrepreneur and you've gotten yourself to a place where outside capital is of importance, absolutely go to the iceangelfund.com website, reach out to Jordan at the Chamber or me at Ben Franklin, or dozens of other people like the Beehive Network you've mentioned a couple of times, ETI, the Erie Technology Incubator at Gannon, AEH, the Achievers Entrepreneur Hub, Reverend Quinn. I mean, we have so many touch points in so many ways.
Yeah.
And we operate on this concept called No Wrong Door, which we can talk about later. But essentially it means no matter whose door you knock on, they are responsible for getting you to the right person to help you.
Okay.
And Erie is really good at that. I mean, I really, really good at that. Everyone does truly want to help. So
Now,
reach out.
Is there ever the situation where you guys are looking at something and you're like, this is not a good idea?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, do
All
you-
the time.
All of them. All of them at the beginning are like, huh? What's this?
Now, do you still go through the whole process with them that and still and try and help and guide it to where it could change a little to be, or you're like, no, this isn't going to work?
Yes. So angel investors have slightly different motivations than pure VC or PE, venture capital or private equity investors. They are typically all about cash. If we can't see a quick pathway to cash, we're not interested.
Okay.
Angel funds, on the other hand, have different motivations. We want everyone to succeed. Now, succeed might look like we're not going to give you money because you need to go and work with this entity for 6 months and get your thing straight and then come back. We do that pretty frequently, actually.
Just did it yesterday.
So it's advisement too on the steps that they need to take before they can
Yes.
get to that point.
Absolutely.
Right.
Is that when they're in the valley of death?
Yes.
Yes.
That's when they're in the valley.
Yeah, when they come to us and we say we just don't know how to engage with you,
Yeah.
that's a Valley of Death company because they're a little too early for the fund. They're
Okay.
a little too late potentially for some other programs, but we need something right here where they're at, and that's where the entrepreneurial ecosystem comes in, and that's where Brian and I set to work of getting them networked into the resources they need to hopefully get them over that hump so that the next time they come back to us, we can say, all right, now we know how to engage with you.
Right.
We can put you through a diligence process and you're not going to fail on the first step. That's what it's all about is getting a little more hands-on so that they can continue to push along.
What do they need to get to that? I guess that's what is it that they need in order to get to? Do they have to be up and running? Do they need to have, everything, that legal side of things done for their business before that? What is it that they need before they can come to the angel fund and say, I need now
There are a
help?
lot of things that companies need, kick me under the table here, Jordan. Angel funds need you to be making money.
Okay, so
Now,
you already have
don't
to
need
be
to be
making
profitable.
money. Okay.
But you need to be making money. You need to have found some level of product market fit.
Okay.
Now, we recognize you're early. So maybe you're not totally there. Fine, we can help with that. But angel funds are later in the continuum of capital. Jordan talked about, like the Ben Franklins of the world who find early stage companies and sort of train them up to be now ready for an angel fund or ready for a venture capital fund, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So for angel, you got to be making money. For the other resources, not necessarily. Could literally be an idea on a napkin. And the thing that I think we do really well at the iceangelfund.com is that is that we will tell you our thoughts. Like we're not going to sugarcoat because we want to help you succeed. Now, you could disagree with us, right? We're just 8, 10 people sitting around. No, it's 20. It's 22 or whatever our number is right now. But it's just our thoughts, just our opinion. Doesn't mean we're right.
Right.
Just means that's our opinion.
Right.
Take that as a piece of information with all the other things you're gathering. And frankly, that's the number one job of a CEO, filtering the signal from the noise. So we could be signal, we could be noise, but we're going to tell you. We're not going to leave you hanging like, well, I don't know why they didn't invest, but they didn't. We'll actually tell you.
Yeah, so we just spent 45 minutes on a call yesterday with a founder that we unfortunately had to say not yet to. But we took that time and we walked through every reason why we made that decision and the steps he had to take so that our no could or not yet could become a yes.
Okay.
And so that's something that we do with almost every company that comes
Anyone
through.
who's interested.
If they're
in that
interested
feedback.
and they ask for it,
Yeah.
we'll absolutely do that.
Yeah.
So you ask, what do they need? And there's a checklist. So for if you want to apply for our fund, this is the kinds of things that you'll need to have in place. You'll need to have a pitch deck.
What is a pitch deck?
A pitch deck is a PowerPoint presentation that adequately sums up not only your company but the investment opportunity that you're presenting. So it's walks you through who you are, who the team is, how you make money, and how the investors are going to get paid back eventually.
Okay. I'm going to interrupt real quick.
Yep.
Just let our listeners, we are, you're listening to Maverick Mindset Radio. What is Adam's blowing your minds at 9? She's sitting there. You got it wrong. You don't do it right. But we are talking about angel investing. We're going through the checklist now of what it is and that you need to have. Pitch deck is your first thing.
Pitch deck is first.
Okay.
The next is at the angel stage, you should be at this point creating formal financial reports and formal financial documents. So we will need your most recent income statement and your most recent current balance sheet.
You got to show that they're making money.
that you're real, where the money's coming from and where it's going. And you should also be able to, with at least to your degree of confidence, do a pro forma for 3 years looking forward. So the startup, they should come to the table with that. Now, Brian always says, we know that's wrong. Everyone knows it's wrong. It's just, it could be wrong right, it could be wrong low, but we just need to know what the story is and how you are talking about and thinking about your growth over the next 3 years as the founder of the company.
Okay.
You need to have your cap table. So if you've taken money, your capitalization table. So if you've taken outside investment from any other groups, we need to see who they are, how much they've invested, how much of the company they own, and so that we can see how we play into that, how we fit. Okay. And then we can also start looking at how we're going to be diluted over the next series of fundraising rounds. Because as angels, while what we're investing in is this round, the only thing we're thinking about is the next round of capital. Okay. Because if we can't get you from where you are today to the next round of capital, then everyone loses.
Right.
It goes to zero.
Okay.
No one wants that.
What about those companies that our little bit can help them accelerate enough to be profitable and They don't need outside money. Are we interested in those kinds of companies?
Even more so, yes, because it means that we're not going to have to worry about that really scary word that starts with a D, and all of a sudden we're not making as our position's not as strong as it used to. If you're confident that that's the case, we'd love to hear your story. We're probably going to have some level of skepticism about that because that feels very hard to believe, but we hear it all the time. And we're always happy to talk through that and come to a more a realistic view, which oftentimes is, yeah, you're right. You're not going to need to raise capital again. But a lot of the time it's
not the case.
That you might be looking at this a little bit wrong or a little bit differently than we are. Not wrong, differently than we are. You'll need to have your corporate documents in place and a term sheet that describes the deal that you're presenting. So if that is a revenue share opportunity, if it's an investment on a convertible note or a straight equity or a debt, however it is that you the founder are looking to raise capital, present that to the group. It's not the group's job to generate the terms of the deal. It's the founder's job. And so then it becomes a conversation between the group and the founder to see where can we meet in the middle so that everyone's at least can work together for moving forward. We want everyone to be able to make some money on this game because that's what it's all about.
And there are some very successful companies that we have said no to because the deal structure wasn't correct for us. So if we're going to put in, let's say $100,000, we'd like a 3 to 5 times return. So at the end of the day, we get $300,000 to $500,000 back, which can then either be distributed to the members or put back into their capital fund to make the next investment. But I'm not going to mention who it is, but it's a company in town, super successful, like you've probably been there. And the deal structure was not right for us. It will be right for someone,
but it
wasn't right for us. So we take a look at those things. And the checklist that Jordan is going through is, as you can tell, it's a bit of it's not overwhelming isn't the right word, but there's a lot of stuff here, right?
Yeah.
This is not someone with an idea on a napkin who's going to have all this.
Right. I was just going to ask that. Who helps them get from the napkin to this checklist? Because I would have no idea. What is, I don't
the ecosystem
even know half the words you said. So how do they, who do you guys, when they come to you with a napkin, are you setting them up with the people that can get them to that checklist?
So the founders that are coming to us with a napkin aren't approaching Brian or Jordan with the Ice Angel hat on. They're approaching us with our economic development professional hat on.
Okay.
And so at that point, yes, we dive in.
Okay.
If they come to us with the Angel Fund hat on, we say, you are too early. I'd love to have a conversation with this other one on. We can't talk to you because you don't have these things. We'd be wasting both of our times going through a process for a diligence that will inevitably fail. So yes, that's where the ecosystem steps in.
Okay.
Ben Franklin can provide mentorship and investment capital. The Fire Accelerator can do that as well. And there's accelerator programs and incubators and mentorship cohorts all across the city and all around the country that you can participate in. And each one of these has a specialty. So there are business plan boot camps. There are pitching competitions. There are get your financial house in order workshops. There are Adam's hosted legal workshops before. There are resources around so that you can get the expertise you need. But then it's about finding and hiring the right talent to be able to do it. The CEO probably, at least in the beginning, might need to have the ability to go into QuickBooks and do everything themselves, but eventually they're going to grow to a point where they need some professional help to do that. They might need outside counsel or anything.
What about the people, like you're saying, there's different, like Adam has the legal workshops for people and advises them that they need to, you have to get your legal documents in order to do A, B, and C. But what about the people who are like, yeah, I know, but I don't have the money to do that. And I don't have the money to do all these things I have to get started to get to the point where then they can go to you guys. Who helps them with that? Because I feel like that's the number one. Like, I don't even have the money to get started.
Then don't start.
Okay.
I mean, I know that's harsh.
But how do they? I mean, what
So
what are
they're
your...
going to have to work nights and weekends at a second job and squirrel away their nickels.
See, I think that's what people, they feel like, what do I have to do to get the money to this?
So first of all, get inside of a program. Get inside of the Achievers Entrepreneurial Hub. Get inside of the Thrive program. Get inside of the Ben Franklin Techcelerator program. ETI has stuff. SBDC has stuff. Get inside of a program so that you can now learn and get more comfortable. But all the while, you're saving away your nickels because at some point, you got to pay for stuff.
Right.
Period. End of story. Whether it's talent or product or rolling stock or a developer, or, whatever, you're going to have to start paying for stuff. Start talking to your rich Uncle Joe or your wealthy, Aunt Ray.
Those friends, family, and fools that we talked about.
Yeah.
So when you're in that napkin stage, you should be saving or having a way to have the money to just start to begin with.
Well,
that's certainly my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. There's a lot of things rolled into what you're. So how do I?
Well, because I
start?
talk to a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? They're just, well, I have this great idea, but I don't have the money to start it, or I need to do this, but I don't have the money to do it.
It's not a really great idea until it's been pressure tested.
Right.
Like it might sound like a great idea, but you've got to pressure test it. So I'm going to roll all the way back. Once you're past the napkin stage and you're now committed to doing this thing, the very first thing you should do is talk to someone like Adam or your attorneys at Rust Belt that helps get them structured. Right? Maybe it should be an LLC. Maybe it should be a C Corp. I can't imagine starting a startup as an S Corp, but maybe there's a reason to do it.
Right.
You got to get yourself two professionals, a lawyer and an accountant, or someone who's going to help with your tax strategy and your books and all that stuff.
We got Rust Belt and Pennywise.
I'm telling you, I was saying one-stop shop. So get yourself straight. Then begin to do all the other work that you need to do. And yes, you're going to have to spend your own money or someone's money to get that stuff done. And all of the other programs, which are free, all of the accelerator programs. I'm stealing.
So
the air
starting anyone should have the option to start a business, but success is not a right. So you have to earn that. And some of the most successful entrepreneurs that we've talked to that are thinking, they're coming up on that, okay, I have a full-time job, but I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do my business.
Yeah.
The most successful ones, what they'll figure out is how much money are they making now? What are their benefits cost? What does everything else? And then they run fairly simple equation. What do I need to replace my income and get to where I want to be? And then you go to work and you build a plan to get to that point. You aren't going to quit your job and start on your startup full time until you're certain that you can sustain yourself on that. And if you make that jump too early, that's going to harm your business, but the business's potential. You might lose your house, your family. I mean, everything. It's the hardest decision to make, one of the hardest decisions to make for timing, but it's one of the most critical. And yes, there are programs and capital available out there, but at the end of the day, all of those programs are just facilitating you to be able to do your job. And you have to be able to make this business work with the team that you've built around it in absence of any of those programs.
We talk about startup founders, right? They're the only people on the face of the planet who will gladly work 100 hours a week to avoid working 40. It's not easy, like especially in the beginning when you're trying to commercialize an idea. Yeah, it's going to take nights and weekends and everyone you know and everything you've done. You have to be, once you cross the line between, oh, this is interesting, to, no, this is the thing. And you've got market proof and you've talked to potential customers and you've done the math about what kind of money do I need. Once you've crossed that line and you go to an attorney like Adam and say, okay, I'm ready to start my thing, that's when it gets hard. right? That's when you're going to do all-nighters and, relive your college days on Red Bull and, 3 a.m. skull sessions. That's just the way it works. And I'll tell you, it is the most fun thing that I've ever gotten to do multiple times. And I'd do it again tomorrow. If I had some brilliant something, I would totally do it. Because you are never more fired up, you're never more stressful, you're never more alive than when you're building a startup company.
Well, and if it's something that you love and you're passionate about,
That's
you don't
right.
mind putting that time in.
No,
you
you
want
don't.
to put that time in.
Yep.
It's different when you're putting the time into something that's yours as opposed to something that's not.
The first sale that I made at my startup a million years ago was one. It's not like you put $1 in a frame on a wall. We literally photocopied and blew it up, a check that we got, and put it on our wall. It was the most exciting day when me and my partner at the time were like, "Oh yeah, this is what we did.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
This is what we did." And
Nice.
when you get there, it's like, "Oh my gosh, the best." And that's what we're trying to help. It's not. I mean, the Ice Angel Fund is down the road. In the beginning, it's all about getting you, the entrepreneur, getting you resourced enough, capital, other stuff that you need to get to a point where you can go to the iceangelfund.com, put your application in, and have a great conversation with people who are focused on your success.
Tell us a little bit more about the Ice Angel Fund. Where did that come from? Specifically, why was it formed? Just tell us about that. We keep mentioning it, but let's dive in a little bit. What exactly the Ice Angel Fund is?
So the Ice Angel Fund, it stands for the Investment Community of Erie.
Okay.
And so it is a collection of professionals that have accredited investors that come together with the mission of supporting entrepreneurship in our community, making investments with the intent of achieving some level of return, and have come together to create, as Brian mentioned, a culture of investment in our community. So these are people from across industries. They are varying in age.
Is it just from Erie?
no,
These
It's actually not.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got investors that are from the other side of the state. We've
Okay.
got some from other states, but most of them have some Erie connection.
Okay.
That's typically how we find them. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What we care about is how are you legally able to do this, and are you going to bring something to the table beyond just your capital. And that's what we want. We don't want passive investors on this group. Well, yes, we do want passive investors in the group, but we want people we want people that are going to be actively engaged in the conversation and with the companies.
So Jordan and I have a lot of experience doing this, but we get smarter when we're around smarter people. What's the saying? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Find a new room.
Right, find a new room. So, yeah, we want just smart people who are engaged and interested and motivated to help others, right? The pay it forward kind of an idea with their capital and with their smarts and with their network.
So how did they, if you want to be part of the Ice Angel Fund, what do they have to do?
We can't tell you.
I can't tell you that, but you can go on the website. Can you? No, and the reason we're being cagey here is the SEC has a rule. The Security and Exchange Commission has a rule that says we can't solicit.
Got it. Okay.
Come be an Ice Angel Fund member. Now, if you just happen to find the iceangelfund.com because you were reading or listening to this radio show or watching us on YouTube or Facebook and you stumbled across iceangelfund.com and you sent an email, I'm sure we'd respond. But we can't actively solicit. However, people who are hearing my voice now, it's fun just to have the conversation. Like, you don't have to ever be a member Ice Angel Fund, but it's fun just to meet these people and have the next conversation. So, we'd both encourage everyone to, kick the tires, right? Maybe even come to a general meeting. Like, we invite lots of people to just sort of sit in and see what this is all about. No harm, no foul, no commitment. I mean, you can drink our water and eat our donuts or whatever we have when we... But no, I mean, it's just fun to be around the conversation.
And when you have these meetings and these conversations, you're discussing the different ways to help people, or
Yep.
what's
Yep.
okay.
So a typical meeting looks like we'll have obviously approve the minutes, financials, pending audit, everything else.
Robert's rules.
Then we'll invite an entrepreneur in to make a
Okay.
presentation.
I see.
They'll
Okay.
pitch the group. They'll go through their pitch deck and tell the group about who they are, why they're doing this, how they make money, how the investors could make money. And then we send the entrepreneur out of the room and we talk about them. And we say, that's where we start doing the...
It's like high school.
It sure is. He's like, get out of here.
Auditioning
We're gonna
for-
judge you, literally judge you. And we talk about at that point what we're looking for are what we call deal breakers.
Okay.
What are the things that we've heard or the red flags that were thrown up through their presentation?
What
that
are
we
some of
say-
those? What are
So if they make statements about customer acquisition, and then they go to a slide and we see that their cost of customer acquisition is really significant. They're talking about different strategies, and we may say, okay, well, this
Explore
doesn't.
that more. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about this. If they're a software platform, but we see that there's a lot of human expense, we say, well, what's going on with this? This looks more like a consulting shop than it looks like a SaaS. So how can we continue? SaaS is software
as a service.
as a service.
Yeah.
And so what we're looking for there are the things that we can dive into on due diligence so that we can be more targeted in the approach. So we don't want to just look at everything for the sake of looking at everything. Yeah. We want to find the things that really matter so that we can get to the decision that we want to make as quickly as we can.
And one of the things this company had talked about that we did not invest in recently, one of the things that it's why we're at a later stage. We're not super early at the iceangelfund.com. It's why what's the exit look like?
Okay.
Like the only reason investors give companies money is because they want it back times 3 or
Right.
5 or 1,000,
Right.
right? So what does that look like?
how long does that? Okay.
Which is a guess, but what does it look like? And when we get there, how much money are we going to get back?
Right.
Right? Because we're venture at some level, venture returns focused. We want our money back to go deploy it somewhere else. So what this company didn't do a good job is understanding the venture math, right? We're going to put in X. It's going to take number of years. Here's the potential return. It was like 1.3x. It's not worth it. It's too long. It's too not significant enough. For that reason, well, there was a couple others, but for that reason, almost alone, we said no. We said, could you restructure this so we can get to a return that looks like this? And they were unwilling to do it.
Okay.
And so we
so
had to
you
pass.
give them the
Yes.
opportunity
course.
to do
We
that
want
or
to-
show them.
Because we want to invest.
Right.
Yes.
We start off
Okay.
with the mindset, we want to put money into you.
Okay.
We want to provide you with all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
That's where we start. You convince us that that's a bad idea through not having answers to
Got
the
it.
red flag questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we want to be helpful always in the beginning. There's a million reasons to say no. We're looking for the reasons to say yes.
So they can go do the thing you suggest. They can always come back and say,
Absolutely.
"Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I thought about what you said, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
decided to do this."
Likely after they've gotten the same feedback from 3 to 50 other people saying almost the same thing.
Yeah.
If they're smart and not stubborn, they'll rework their deal and then hopefully come back.
Okay. Now, if you guys say no, do you direct them in other areas? Like, hey, we can't, but you should go look here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what it's all about.
So it's still helping, no matter what. You're still
because we know that the community is better if there are high performing businesses present, and so we will always take that next step. It's a no from us, but here's the next person you should talk to.
okay.
And we're part of a syndicate. So the iceangelfund.com is part of a syndicate of 41?
26.
Oh,
I think.
2641, whatever. Other angel funds in other communities who we send deals to and who send deals to us. So we're getting a pretty broad look at entrepreneurial opportunities across a pretty broad footprint all throughout the Appalachian region. We're super fortunate to be partnered with a company called the Appalachian Investors Alliance. They have stood up, I think they've stood up about 40 or so angel funds, of which now 26 are still active. And so we have that larger relationship. So that's where some of our big brains come from, right? If we don't have the expertise in our group, but we know that angel investor group X does, well, we can reach out to say, hey, would you mind looking at a deal for us? Here's the questions we've got. And we get that through the Appalachian Investors Alliance. Really sharp group.
Yeah, so if there's a company that comes to us that's a medical device that's focused on, let's say, the heart, I can say our fund does not have a heart doctor in it.
So you don't know.
We can say, oh, wait a second, Appalachian Investors Alliance, they manage a fund in the middle of the state that is made up of all cardiologists. That's actually true. Let's send them this technology and say, what do you think of this?
Right.
And if they say, yeah, this actually looks interesting, I'd hear their pitch, then we can move forward and we can take that deal.
Got it. Now, do you guys all have to agree if you're going to invest in someone? Like
51%.
So that's the beautiful part of it. This is the iceangelfund.com is what's called a member managed fund. So when you buy into when you join the fund, what you're doing is you're purchasing shares of an LLC, which allows you voting rights in any decision making point. So the people that have the money committed are the people that make the decisions on where the money goes, and that's really important to us as the leadership group behind the Ice Angel Fund, because there are other formats where there are decision makers and then people that just get reports. And we wanted our fund to be something that is actively engaging for everyone that's involved so that they can have control over where their capital's going.
And to build a culture of investment, you need people who want to be involved.
You need
and
to buy.
So, we've had some, I wouldn't say, we've had some pretty aggressive conversations about should we or shouldn't we? And at the end of the day, so far, every vote has been unanimous, but it doesn't always start that way, right? Sometimes you got to hear the juror who's standing out alone. And like, well, how come you're a yes?
Angry Men moments.
But it's good because we're learning. Like, why is this person saying this? Like, what's that information stream
Everybody
that they've
thinks
got?
a little differently.
Yes, and that's the power. That is the power.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so iceangelfund.com is where you can learn. As an entrepreneur, you can learn more, or as a potential investor or just someone curious, you can learn more there. And, of course, Jordan's always available at the Erie Regional Chamber. Just go on eriepa.com and reach out to Jordan, or Ben Franklin. Find me through the Brian Slawin through the Ben Franklin system, or Ben Frank Brian on Twitter is probably the easiest way. But yeah, we're a yes for every conversation. You're interested in talking to us? We're a yes. Find a time, set up a Zoom, or meet up for coffee, and we're a yes.
Awesome. So we have a few more minutes left. Is there anything? We have one more minute left, Joel said. Action items for people that are listening, advice that you would give them if they are listening, like, I have an idea. What?
So if you're a founder out there, I would say your action item for the week is if you're not already engaged in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, reach out to myself or Brian, and we'd love to schedule a meeting and have a conversation about your business and see what resources we can get you hooked up to. The Ice Angel Fund might be one of them, but we know that there are hundreds more that we can also get you tied in. So if you're a founder, schedule a meeting. We'd love to have a conversation.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for
thanks
being
for Adam
on. This
and
was great.
Ashley, thank you.
Yeah, Adam's not here. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks, guys. And we will see you next week. And as Adam always says, I believe in you.